Welcome. The first words to welcome all of you this afternoon are from Reverend Ken Hurto, former lead of the UUA's Southern Region. And Reverend Hurto says, "Good companions, 40 years ago, we first met when I came to be with you as a minister on loan from my home congregation in Des Moines, Iowa. You were a plucky group, hopeful that you could become more. Well, indeed, you did and are. Your ministry has grown, even prospered. Now you reach another waypoint. Where to now? All blessings as you welcome Reverend Elizabeth to walk with you in ministry. Commit to be companions along the way as you work towards ministry of free conviction, full-hearted compassion, and witness to justice. Take good care of the shared life that is a church. Be an inspiration to one another and to the larger community. Welcome your minister into your lives. Together, the journey continues. May I offer this blessing from afar. Bless you in your shared ministries. Bless you in your discernment. Bless you in your commitment. Bless you in your witness. Bless your light to Cheyenne. And remember this, your best days are ahead, not behind. May your next 40 years make you proud. Step lovingly into them and bring joy to life." And now we're going to hear from Reverend Sarah Morvis-Schur. Lovingly into them and bring joy to life. And now we're going to hear from Reverend Sarah Morvis-Schur.
I am the Reverend Sarah. Hello, good people of Cheyenne. I am the Reverend Sarah Mobius-Schur, and I'm your primary staff contact from the Pacific Western region of the UUA.
And now we're going to hear from Reverend Sarah
This is a very special
Morvis-Schur.
day in the life of your congregation, the installation of your new minister, the Reverend Elizabeth Mount. I wish I could be there to celebrate with you in person. I bet it's an awesome day in Cheyenne today, and I love cake. Since I can't fly to Wyoming this week, I send you a video greeting. The next best thing to being there. I send blessings and congratulations to the membership of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Cheyenne. Located in the state capital, you are in a position to make a real difference in the world. With Reverend Elizabeth Mount by your side, I can only imagine the message of universalist love, the sacred value of every person that you can spread in the great state of Wyoming. And I know you will enfold the wider world in your embrace, but you'll also enfold each other to be a community of care for each other in good times and bad. And Reverend Elizabeth Mount, I send you blessings as well. As you serve these good people in that special relationship of called ministry, may you experience great fulfillment on good days and plenty of grace on the harder ones. May you love every one of your people in that sacred trust that is our call and vocation. May you and your ministry thrive in Cheyenne. Please know that I am here for you, as is the rest of the UUA staff and as all your siblings and congregations in the association. Reach out whenever you need to share good news or get advice. You're never alone in this work. We're all here for you today and always. Have a wonderful installation.
1 minute. I hope you got to hear some of what she was saying. We'll get it down pat by the end of the service, not to worry. So now, if you would like, I invite you to either open your order of service or pick up the gray hymnal that's in the back of the pew in front of you to number 298, and we're going to sing this together as the procession enters. So number 298, Wake Now My Senses, as we are joined by all the religious professionals who have gathered in celebration for this installation. And also, if you're a religious professional joining us on Zoom, we welcome you to turn on your cameras and wave to us during this processional time as part of our shared joy and celebration. So please rise, and number 298. Beautiful. I now invite Reverend Bob Gerard, Cheyenne Interfaith Council, and Rabbi Moshe Hoffman from St. Sinai Temple, Wyoming Interfaith Network. And you can arm wrestle to see who goes first.
We were just debating about that. How do you do, everybody? I've been here before. The last time I was here was for Hanukkah, and I had, the honor of being with all of you and singing some Hebrew songs. Rather than an invocation, I'm sorry that it's this. We tell stories, and this is a story that some of you may be familiar with because it's in M. Scott Peck's book, Different Drum. There's a couple of different versions of it, but the general idea is that there is a monastery. In some versions, it's a village, and they're falling on hard times. And there's like 5 old monks left, and they're pretty depressed. And I'm not saying you guys are depressed or my synagogue, but this whole idea is that, they are sitting around and, in a forest area, but they realize there's a rabbi that lives about, several miles away, but nearby, so that they'll consult with him or they'll hang out with him. And he's also without a congregation, but the abbot of the monastery goes to meet with the rabbi, and he says, I don't know what to do, man. Our community's just falling apart and people are not coming to us anymore. And give me some advice. And instead of giving him advice, as I said, we study, we read, we debate. So the two of them, the abbot and the rabbi, sit down and they're studying, reading Bible, reading Torah. And at the end of this little time of hanging out, meditating, looking at the beautiful forest, the abbot turns to the rabbi and says, you still haven't given me any advice on what I should do or what we should do. And the rabbi says, I don't have any advice for you. All I can tell you is that one of you is the Messiah. Wow. And you know what that might mean to a Christian or whatever it means to a Jew either, So he goes back to his monastery, he tells the folks, I don't know, the rabbi, all he said was that one of us is the Messiah. Well, in this story, that each person looks and says, maybe it's Brother John, maybe it's Brother Theodore. No, it couldn't be Brother Theodore. He's too serious all the time. Maybe it's me. And they begin treating each other with great respect and moral codes. And they start thinking, I have a responsibility now that I have to personify. What does it mean to be a Messiah? And people from the surrounding area begin coming and migrating and just feeling the charisma of the place, the energy of the place. And then the rabbi comes and visits a year later, and it's thriving, and people are coming and they're enjoying, and they sit on the lawn and they have parties, they have good food. They don't just pray, they study, and they do good things for each other. And that seems to be the message. I do this at my synagogue, sometimes at high holidays. One of you is the Messiah, or maybe you all are. Thank you.
Prayer is taken from a Presbyterian worship book for the installation of a pastor. So I thought, why not? Let us pray. We praise you, gracious Lord, for you alone are God. You have made us, and we all are your people, the sheep of your pasture. You have led us to green meadows by cool waters, satisfying every need with your love. You have shown us paths that are right through shadowed valleys of despair. You have been our comfort and hope. Over long generations, your presence has sustained us, these your people. We, the members of the Cheyenne Interfaith Council, give you thanks for calling Reverend Elizabeth Mont to serve and shepherd this Unitarian Universalist Church. May your spirit of unity and joy be heard by Reverend Mont and the congregation as it guides them on this new adventure of faith and loving outreach to the Cheyenne community. Amen.
For our chalice lighting this afternoon, we are going to have Reverend Bob and Makana Morris. They are joining us on Zoom, and this will be for Bob and Makana. It's good to see them.
Thank you. We are grateful for the opportunity to be with you all virtually for this service of installation for Reverend Elizabeth as your minister. Our congratulations and special wishes for Elizabeth and for this amazing congregation as you dedicate yourselves to this shared ministry. Kathleen will be lighting the chalice as we share these words entitled Thresholds by Florence Kaplow.
We kindle this flame, honoring the doorways in our souls.
The windows through which we gaze at one another, the balconies where we catch glimpses of the sky.
The thresholds we stand on this afternoon, wondering, hoping, fearing, and dreaming.
So may it be.
So, do we have some young people, young at heart, young in action, young in deed, young yesterday? Whoever. I got one. I got two. I got three. Good job, Addie. Lead them on in here. You're awesome. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to have you guys, before Reverend Elizabeth starts her story, we're going to have you lead us, please, in sharing our covenant. So those of you who, we got another one and another one. For those of you who are visiting, the covenant is inside your order of service. And some more. I knew we had some kids running around here somewhere. This is awesome. I'm going to wait till we get a couple more. Is there a lot of kids? Good. We love having a lot of kids. It's fun. Okay, well, we got the fire started, so we're good. They love the fire too. So we got another, one last young person coming forward. That's awesome. So let's do our covenant together. Are you ready? Are you ready? Love is the spirit of this church and service its cause. This is our covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek truth, and to help others.
A mic pack that I hope is on now. All right. I'm going to sit right down here in front.
As the story goes, when this congregation was just a few people in a small yellow building, the first goal was to help their children to learn and grow, to teach them to ask deep and thoughtful questions and to look to others and also to their own hearts for answers and share what they found out with one another. In this spirit, we want to offer a time of blessing together about ministry as a part of this celebration, because it is a celebration of ministry.
So, you all might know ministers do a lot of different things. Yay. And we are going to together talk about some things that ministers do, but that all of us do as part of a ministry. I'm a minister. And in fact, can folks raise their hands if you are a minister? What? Can folks raise their hands if they're part of the ministry of a church or a congregation? Whoa, that's a lot of folks. So let's talk about what ministers do and offer a blessing. So Emily knows.
The traditional roles of a minister are to be preacher, teacher, pastor, priest, and prophet.
So those are big words. A preacher is someone who tells stories that help us know ourselves and each other a little bit better and to understand more of the world and how to live in it. So how many of you have been up here for a story or a time for all ages? Some of y'all? Yeah, quite a few. So that might be one example, or during a sermon we tell stories. A teacher, how many people have a teacher in their lives? Yeah. So teachers are people who help us learn and find answers.
Yes.
Yeah, you know some teachers.
I have a lot of teachers at my
Shelby's a teacher.
Yeah.
And Miss Buddy's a teacher.
Yeah, and when you come to RE here, you might have Mark or Marcy as your teachers.
Nice.
Yeah. As a pastor, that means part of my job is to help people who might be sick or when they're sad or to celebrate with you. A pastor is someone who makes sure that you aren't alone in life when things are happening. And as a priest, I lead rituals and ceremonies like weddings or funerals or the fire ceremony that we did where we all lit candles at New Year's.
That's what we do.
And with that fire paper at New Year's time.
Right.
Yeah. So
Nice.
next year you get to do it again.
Let's go.
Yeah. And a prophet is someone who speaks the truth in courage and love. So things like going to the Capitol to speak or building interfaith connections with other ministers and religious professionals, being at community events. And that's a big job. So I am hoping that you all will help in those ministries and help offer a blessing. So can we all stand up?
Oh, my legs are too tight.
And, oh no, you could sit if you needed to, but we're gonna make a circle here in the middle. Yeah, a little bit of a circle. You can come circle right next to me. All right.
Okay, we're going to make a circle with one another and offer a blessing for our shared future in ministry together. This is going to be a little bit like the
space
hokey
right there.
pokey dance, because we all love that.
All right.
But more serious.
If you all are feeling like moving your bodies, you are very welcome to come to help in this from your seats.
Yay.
All right. So, thank you. So first, does everybody know their right and their left? If you don't, just pick one and it'll be okay.
I'll be doing my right.
All right, so we're gonna put our right foot, our right side in the circle, or if you're sitting, you might give it a little lift or a shake. So I know that children are really good at being playful.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
We are the queens. We are the
Games.
kings and queens
Yeah.
of playfulness.
You super are. So the royalty of playfulness here. We know that games and toys and laughter teach us a lot about who we are, and silliness is sacred.
What's
So
sacred?
playing, sacred, it means it's really, really important. It's so important that it's important
How can
all the
playfulness be
way
important?
through the universe and beyond.
How can playfulness be important?
That's a good question and probably one to keep asking together. So, are we ready to play together in community? If you're
go.
ready, let's give your leg a little shake, give yourself a little wiggle, and then we're gonna change sides. Ready? Whoop. We're gonna put your left foot in, or give it a little shake, because our hearts are a little bit to the left. And children are especially good at bringing your emotions with you everywhere you go. That's pretty nice. So here, freedom of faith and heart and identity makes us especially strong. Even our bad ideas or our bad moods help make us awesome.
Let's go.
So, with our wild hearts and the will to adventure, can we promise to be wild explorers of ideas together?
Yeah.
Yeah, so give yourself a shake on that side. Yes. All right, now we are going to gently, so we don't bonk each other, put our heads in. Because children are wise with big ideas and deep conversations and full lives. So, can we take each other seriously and listen closely and find answers together? All right. Can you take wisdom seriously with us? Yeah. Or playfully. All right. And then we're all going to take a little hop. This is the put your whole self in. Flop. Yeah. And you might put your arms forward if you're out in the seats here. So being part of, or if you're on Zoom as well, being part of the church and part of shared ministry might feel a little bit frightening or dangerous, but that doesn't mean it's not worth doing. It means that things matter. Sometimes when things matter a lot, feeling nervous can be our hearts telling us it's important. So, can you together and us, can we commit to bringing our whole selves and putting our whole selves in with bravery here in this community?
Yes.
To learn and grow every day. So if the answer is yes, can we put our arms forward or our whole selves in and say yes? Yes! Fabulous. Thank you so much. If you would like to head back to your seats, this is the time. I think it's play time for y'all. Yes.
No, I think I. How kola mitakoyapi. My name is Jake Heron. I'm actually a military chaplain still in formation with a Unitarian Universalist approval. So I'm not quite endorsed, I'm approved. And yeah, it's a whole thing. And throughout this whole approval, endorsements, ordination process that I have to go through, because it is so complicated, Reverend Elizabeth has been so wonderful to me, so helpful. And that's why I'm so grateful that they have asked me to introduce today's offertory, which is to the Living Tradition Fund. In 1988, the General Assembly established the Living Tradition Fund and requested that ordination and installation services held by member societies include an offering to the fund. But over the years, it's actually become a tradition. The Living Tradition Fund provides 3 types of support for ministry: need-based scholarships for theological students who have completed at least a full year of theological education. Yeah, I got that one. New minister assistance to reduce the burden of high educational debt and repayment, and emergency assistance grants to seminarians, ministers, religious professionals, other congregational staff, retired ministers, and loved ones. I'm actually requesting that right now. So as you can tell, it's very important to us, to our ongoing ministry, not only for ourselves, but those we interact with. So if you are able to, if you are willing to, I invite you to give generously so that individuals, congregations, as well as those in the wider Unitarian Universalist Association can strengthen and support our professional ministry by keeping this important resource available for now, tomorrow, and for the next 7 generations.
And we'll pass the baskets here in a minute as we invite Beth Howard forward to do swimming to the other side.
We invite Beth Howard forward to lead swimming to the other side, but we hope that you will join in on the chorus. This is a great folk song with a repeated chorus. It begins with the chorus, and after every verse, the chorus repeats. So hopefully by the end, we're all swimming to the other side. And I want you to know we always practice no fault harmony. So don't tell me that you can't sing. Just whatever comes out of your mouth is the right thing. Please join us. We are living in the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. I am alone and I am searching, hungering for answers in my time. I am balanced at the brink of wisdom. I'm impatient to receive a sign. I move forward with my senses open. Imperfection, it be my crime. In humility I will listen. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living in the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. Beautiful. On this journey through thoughts and feelings, finding intuition, my head, my heart, I am gathering the tools together. I'm preparing to do my part. All of those who have come before me band together to be my guide, loving lessons that I will follow. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living in the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. When we get there, we'll discover all of the gifts we've been given to share have been with us since life's beginning, and we never noticed they were there. We can balance at the brink of wisdom, never recognizing that we've arrived. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side. All right, let's do it. We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in this stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. Loving spirits
We'd now like to invite Reverend Julie Brock forward to tell us about Boots and Rainbows. Oh, she's carrying the flame.
Making sure you got space for the spirit.
Don't you worry about that.
I was just looking at that and going, man, I'm going to bump into that fire. Y'all. We have so much to celebrate today. It is the installation service for the Reverend Elizabeth Mount at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Cheyenne. Can you make a joyful noise for that? That's right. Okay, but that's not all we have to celebrate. I have other good news. So, the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association has just created a big new fancy award. It's called the Infinity Award. It's basically a lifetime achievement award for people who passed on before they were able to be given lifetime achievement awards. And the inaugural award is going to none other than one Ms. Octavia Butler. Octavia Butler is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, sci-fi writers. She is thought-provoking and morally challenging and just a brilliant world builder. In fact, one of the first deep debates that I ever got into with Reverend Elizabeth Mount was about which Octavia Butler novel was the best. But I can't go into that right now because I got 12 minutes. And also, you guys should really be exposed incrementally to what an absolute nerd your minister is. Okay. But one thing that can't be disputed, one thing that we won't argue about, is how amazing Octavia Butler is, because she does this thing over and over again where she sets up humanity on the very brink of failure. And then she lets us watch as some beautiful and flawed people work together through imagination and intentional community building to build something better and different going forward. And I don't know about y'all, but I need that right now. Whew, I need that right now. I'm looking around at this world, at all these systems that we have built for ourselves, and they seem a little bit unsustainable. Am I the only one? I mean, I'm looking at our sister systems of government, and I'm looking at our economic systems, and heck, I'm looking at Mother Nature's systems that we keep messing with, and I'm going, this is a little bit too unstable and unpredictable for my spiritual well-being. And in times like that, it is important for me to remember that available to us are creative solutions if we are willing to work together for them. It's important to me. I was thinking recently a lot about Octavia Butler and thought about, well, what would Octavia do today? What would she think about today? Because, she was writing in the 1980s and in the 1990s, and she was hopeful then. Would she be hopeful now in our current moment? I was wondering about this. And then I remembered the Parable series. Have you guys read the Parable series, the parable of the sower and the parable of the talents? Yeah, okay. For those of you who haven't, this was the scenario, real quick, in the Parable series. So the United States of America is the setting. It is about 2030, in the 2030s, early 2030s. And labor protections and antitrust laws have been so degraded that just a few multinational corporations run everything. And the government's pretty powerless to stop their ravaging of the environment and our economy. And so if you work for one of these corporations, you can go live in a company town where they'll give you no pay, but a bunk and a cafeteria and an hour or two a day of company approved recreation. And if you don't live in one of these company towns, you have to deal with everything else. Everywhere else where the things that we once held in public trust at least to an extent, like our healthcare and our education and even municipal goods like fire and garbage pickup and water. Those things have all been privatized. So if you have enough generational wealth, you can hold on to like a modicum of security. But if not, you're going to fight and fight hard for the last few remaining resources. So I think Octavia had a pretty good idea of what might be to come, because in the middle of all this, this guy runs for president. This guy runs for president, and this is a quote from the book. The president, he demonizes everybody who's not like him so that he can blame our problems on them because it's easier than solving the problems. That's a quote from the book. And so people are divided. They're divided along racial lines. They're divided among economic lines. They're really, really divided along religious lines. As this man keeps rabble-rousing the right-wing evangelical Christians of the country with a presidential slogan that is, I kid you not, make America great again. The book is written in the 1990s. Okay, so Octavia imagined something. And then she gave us hope. She imagined something, and then she gave us hope in the character of Lauren Olamina. See, Lauren was a community builder. Lauren was a thinker. She was somebody who had some of those vestiges of generational wealth, but then she realized, because she was also raised as a Black woman and knew that you couldn't trust the systems, she realized that her safety and her care was probably going to go away at some point. So she planned for it. She went to her people and said, what do you have? What do we know? What can we do? And it turned out one of them had some land. So all of them went to this land and they hunkered down and they tried to rebuild. They tried to build something again. All around them, there were these Christian re-education camps that were cropping up. Now, before we go any further, a caveat, I'm Christian. There's nothing wrong with being Christian, but there's a wrong way to do it. And there were all these camps cropping up, and people were saying, okay, we got to get rid of this religion thing. It is not good. And Lauren said, oh no, this is powerful. We need to use it. We need to build a re-education camp. We need to re-educate ourselves about the gifts of the earth and how they can feed and heal people. We need to re-educate ourselves about our own solidarity and abilities. We need to learn how to make things. We need to re-educate ourselves as to how Holy Spirit comes in when we eat together and sing together and create ritual together over shared meals. And she created this religion. She co-created this religion all around feeding people and healing people and taking really, really good care of each other. So when the change came in, they could be agents of transformation. This is what happened. And so I think that is hopeful. And y'all, right now, my whole body, it's sort of aching for that kind of religion. It is aching for that kind of religion. And I know I'm up here in a robe and a stole. I got religion coming out of my ears. But since the pandemic, it almost feels like what I'm doing every day in my religious settings is talking about budgets that aren't what I want them to be. I'm talking about bylaws that did not imagine the current moment. I'm dealing with church conflict that seems petty on the surface until you find out that really deep down, it's just people that are trying to exert some amount of control in a world that is changing much faster than anyone gave it permission to. So I'm sitting here doing this stuff, which is not the soul-feeding stuff I imagined my ministry to be all the time. And I'm hearing people ask this question: why are we still doing this? Church is stressful sometimes. Why? We don't have to do this. This isn't our taxes. Why are we still showing up all the time? Okay, so recently, a colleague said to me, no, Julie, you don't understand. We have to do this because human beings, they live in context. Human beings live in context, and we're going to create stories and meaning for ourselves no matter what. And if we do that alone, in isolation, without accountable community, that can be dangerous. But when we do it together and check in with one another and build beautiful, prophetic, co-creative narratives, we can do that work of building something better, building the dream that we believe in. Do you know who the minister that said that to me was? It was Reverend Elizabeth Mount. It was Reverend Elizabeth Mount. And it reminds me of my favorite Unitarian theologian, Henry Bellows, who said that prophecy was revealed in community, that we can't know truth unless we check in with one another. We each have a part of the perspective, but together we can do a part of the whole. Together, if we put all of our truths together, we can know more about what the ultimate is trying to say to us in the first place. And I am like, yes, Henry, and yes, Reverend Elizabeth, and yes, and yes, and yes. But how? Because, we live in this world with budgets and bylaws and weird church power dynamics. So how? And that's when Octavia speaks to me again. Octavia Butler was a Black feminist, professional science fiction writer, writing in a time when the population of professional science fiction writers was about as diverse as a PGA golf tour. And if you just started thinking about Tiger Woods, you're proving my point. So, Octavia Butler was once asked, how did you imagine yourself to be a professional sci-fi writer? And she said, no, that's not the point. The point is not how I imagined it. The point is that I imagined it. It's that I imagined it because human beings, all we need to do to really transform our world is to imagine the solutions to our problems and believe that we can work on them together. And out of the wake of her life and her writing came this group of people, this entire genre of fiction called speculative fiction. And there's this group of writers and they get together. Some of them call themselves Octavia's Brood. And they say, our job is to imagine the problems of humanity and solve them in brilliant, beautiful, creative ways, co-creative ways. And I think we should join them. I think that we should join them because, y'all, we've been told all these narratives. We've been told that we have this Overton window within which we can debate and think. We've been told that we have to stay in this realm of reasonability that has been thought of and plotted out beforehand. And that narrative is wrong. And it's dangerous and it's limiting. And also, okay, now that I'm going, I'm going to say things. Now that I'm going, can we keep this just between us? There's another narrative that we keep saying that I think is limiting and dangerous. And it's that, okay, the pandemic is over and we're going to go back and we're going to build the things and everything's going to be like it was before and it's all going to be okay. I don't think that's true. I don't think it's true that we can go back to what was going on before. Religion, as we know it, has been declining as a force of spirituality and morality in the United States for generations now. And also, we don't live in that economic reality anymore. The cost of healthcare and housing, the cost of education, they're rising so much that people do not have the disposable income to support church the way that they used to. And they have to work more hours, which means that we don't have the volunteer hours to support church like we used to. So right now, we're in this moment. This is what I believe. We're in this moment and we get to choose. We get to choose two future narratives, between two future narratives. The first one could be that this was the moment when church started to really fail. That we continued to try to hold on to what we were doing exactly how we were doing it. And we continued to burn out our religious professionals and our volunteers. And that we did hospice for a lot of our congregations. And there's still pockets of Unitarian Universalism here and there, but they mostly serve to make comfortable the people who liked what it used to be. Or we can imagine something else. We can say that this is the moment. This is the moment when we woke up and said, holy cow, we need to do something different. What we weren't doing is working, and what we were doing isn't working, and we are only limited by our imaginations. We can imagine that we could, I don't know, get together with other congregations in the area and do some deep resource sharing. Unitarian Universalism, if you got them, or other progressive congregations, if you don't. I mean, heck, if Unitarian Universalists know anything, it's that if the values are there, the theology isn't that big of a barrier. What if we stopped doing church every week on Sunday morning? What if instead we did it once a month and spent some of our resources to have church as an act of public witness? Or a Vesper service at a community meeting where we brought our collective resources to bear to help frontline communities? What if we actually fed and healed the people? I mean, it's gonna cost us our comfort for sure, but it just might save our souls. I have some good news. You should always end with some good news, right? Cheyenne, there's something that Wyoming knows, and that where I come from knows. It's going to give us a head start on this process, okay? I serve the Unitarian Universalist Church in Detroit. I serve the church in the city of Detroit. And you all are hanging out in Wyoming. Here's the thing. There's another narrative that we know we need to problematize. The narrative is that Unitarian Universalism is for everyone. And I wish that were true in exactly the way that it's said. But what people in Detroit and people in Wyoming know is that Unitarian Universalism doesn't work the same for everyone everywhere. You know, it doesn't work the same here as it does in the wealthy suburbs of a blue state. Y'all got so much rainbow cowboy boot energy coming out of your ears. It's amazing. And I don't know if it's what our Bostonian ancestors imagined. But that's a good thing, because even the people in those wealthy blue state suburbs know that we need to problematize this narrative. They know that we need to tell a different story. And you all are further along than you think, because you're doing Unitarian Universalism in Wyoming. And you called the Reverend Elizabeth Mount to do it with you. Elizabeth is one of the most prophetic, inspirational storytellers I have ever met in my entire life. You can make noise for that. It's okay. We can do it. Okay, and not only did you choose them, they chose you. I don't know if you know this. Elizabeth's kind of a big deal. And they chose you. They wanted to come here to be with you because this is where they could see the story of their ministry playing out to its fullest potential. So I'll end on this. Elizabeth and I have talked a lot about ministry and its potential and what might happen in the world. But I kind of want to hear from you. What's your story? What's your vision? Where do you want to go going forward? If I was going to say, we are a people of blank, how would you fill in that blank? Love. We're a people of love. Do you agree? Yeah, okay, say it back to me then. We are a people of love. That's right. What else, love? What else? Hope. I heard hope. Okay, do we agree? Hope? Yes? Okay. We are a people of love and hope. Good enough, good enough. It's not perfect. Authenticity over perfection every day. One more. We are a people of justice. All right, we are a people of love, hope, and justice. We are a people of love, hope, and justice. I want to hear it again. We are a people of love, hope, and justice. Oh, come on, make me believe you. And when the budget doesn't come in, And when the bylaws need to be revised again. And before you start any of those petty church fights, you're going to say, one more time, I like to hear it. And grit. Y'all, I believe you. I can't wait to see it. Blessed be and amen.
I'm just going to keep repeating that mantra as next year's board president, hopefully. Over and over. Hi. All right. We should get you installed then. Reverend Mount, we have called you to live among us, to make our concerns your concerns, to provide leadership in the maintaining and building of beloved community inside and outside our walls. We would have you speak your truth to us in freedom without fear or favor of persons or position, to minister to us alike in our joys and our sorrows, and to set forth by word and deed a rich life of the Spirit. Do you accept the invitation of this congregation to be its minister?
I think I might. All right, so, yes. With joy and a deep sense of responsibility, I take up the ministry to which you have called me and enter into covenant with you. I pledge to serve you and the larger community to the best of my ability in the spirit of love, freedom, commitment, hope, and justice, and compassion.
Perfect. Members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Cheyenne, all of you out there, will you please join me in the welcome and affirmation of Reverend Elizabeth? We can read this together. It should be in your order of service. We choose to affirm this covenant and be a part of it. We choose to offer our best selves to this new relationship and be with you in love, for love is the spirit of this church. When we fall short, we invite you to stay in relationship with us, to share in the responsibility of building and rebuilding trust so that we may create the beloved community together. We welcome you as a leader of this congregation, of this faith, and our shared spiritual journey.
And now we get to do all of that again in song.
Awesome. Looks like we're singing number 318, We Would Be One.
And y'all can rise as you desire.
Folks, we just committed to Reverend Elizabeth Mount's installation in spirit and words, and now we are going to do so in body. We're going to do so in body and also in spirit. So I want to say, if anybody here is very close to Reverend Elizabeth, like maybe you two right there in the front, and have known them for a very, very long time, would you come forward in body and or spirit to lay your hands upon them, to give them the blessing of their ministry? And next, I want to invite anyone who feels that they are in Reverend Elizabeth's very inner circle, the people that support them, the people that know that they are close to their hearts and their spirits. And folks, if you at any point are feeling like you want to stay where you are and just physically put up your hand, that's fine. If you want to send your spirit forward, that's fine. We're in COVID times. We all do different things with our bodies. Let's continue to be very comfortable. I want to invite the leadership of the congregation forward. I want to invite the leadership of the congregation forward to place their hand either on Reverend Elizabeth or on Reverend Elizabeth, someone who has their hand on Reverend Elizabeth, or to grab a part of the string and the ribbon that's been passed around right now. And I want to invite any of Reverend Elizabeth's colleagues up to the front. Any of Elizabeth's colleagues who want to go and physically put their hands on Reverend Elizabeth, or put their hands up and send their spirit forward, or take a part of the ribbon, or some combination of all of that. And now I want to invite just everyone who's here to witness this gorgeous day, to witness this sacred ritual. Come forward, and follow me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Source of sources and holder of all the faces and name of God, that which is the flow of the universe and spirit of life, we call you in to witness this prophetic moment, this auspicious moment in which we rise up, this rainbow cowboy hatted, cowboy booted, prophetic leader who sings to our hearts of justice and whispers to our souls of a better kind of freedom, one that's called collective liberation, where none are free until all are free. We send forward through this interconnected web demonstrated by our presence here today, the love and joy of ministry for Elizabeth Mount and this congregation. And I ask you now, because this is something we like to do in young adult circles, will you sing to Elizabeth with me? Will you sing the first verse of We Would Be One more time? We're going to sing it all together. Amen and amen and amen. Please be seated.
I believe there's some gift giving. Once Reverend Elizabeth dries her eyes, how about some goodies?
Be all like kind and moving and stuff, and now now I'm all messy. So can I? It happens. That's fair. I always choose preachers that mildly harass me. That's my favorite. So would the members of the search team come forward to be with me for a moment? So these wonderful folks. Yeah. Come be with us. Thank you. So before I knew the rest of you, these are the folks that you chose to represent your community, to show me the diversity of the people here, to be the ambassadors, to say, this is who this congregation is. These are the people that you will get to know and work with and love and trust. And you all poured your hearts, your souls, your immense intelligence, a little bit of tearfulness. You brought your full selves and the spirit of this congregation into that search packet so that we could choose each other and give it a try. You took the time, you made the effort to know this congregation deeply so that you could present this congregation and find a minister who would love this place and this work. And so I want to take a moment to ask that you and me offer you thanks. Thank you. And Kayla and these. Your card slid down, but this one is Chuck's. And then Kathleen. So these bags, as I'm passing them out, contain a soothing lavender bath bomb and some chocolate and tea and Elizabeth. And then Abby and they contain a rose quartz. Rose quartz is a heart-centered stone. I hope that after all of this intense and wonderful work, you will rediscover the restfulness and the joy of this community as well. Because sometimes we need you in leadership. Sometimes you need us in care. And I hope you will find both now and in the future. Thank you all. And you're all welcome.
Okay. Well, Reverend Mount, it would be nice if all those were very nice words, and then I look down at my part and it says, words go here. And I was like, oh, that's me.
Those are your words.
Those are my words.
You get to
They're
say
in here.
things.
Words go here. We are so incredibly grateful and excited that you have chosen our community to continue your ministry. So I'm not going to belabor the point, but I will tell you that our congregation, after the search, and we found out that you chose us, had, I guess, commissioned a beautiful handmade stole by one of our very talented congregants, Arlene Shanklin, who is in there today. She's waving her arms. And so we would like to present you with that.
Right.
And then in addition, most of you are, well, in the front rows are sort of new to us, but we had a bowl that I guess we could call a singing bowl rather janky. That's a technical term.
It's differently lovely.
It's well loved. It's differently abled. And the worship associate team would like to present to the whole congregation, but especially you as a gift for the installation, this beautiful new singing bowl, especially Kathleen would like to say that. And so Ken, there is actually a story behind this bowl. It's like the staff with the ribbons. It's a theme. It's a theme. But Ken Vernon has a story about the bowl. It has to do with heart chakras, and it's stuff that I don't know about. So please find him at the party afterwards and ask him about the heart chakras and the beautiful bowl. So.
And then I'm doing this because I want to wear this stole. Will you help me to place?
That was made by us. It was made by Arlene Shanklin. Yeah, we already said that, and Arlene waved her arms. So you can see that.
Thank
She
you. Thank you, Arlene.
feels it might be a little too long, and you can get with her later. And,
I feel great about it.
Well, you get with
I
Arlene,
think
and
we're
if the length
set.
is weird, she'll fix it.
Okay. Thank you.
I really believe that the worship associate team got really tired of hearing me complain about the other bowl. And I said, I want one like Bob and McConnell had. I want one. And I think they just, like I said, just got tired of me hearing the thunk, thunk, thunk. So this is beautiful. Ken, 2 thumbs up. You did great. I was afraid this morning because I said, don't do something new that I have to do that I haven't done before. But this is so easy to ring. Perfect. Thank you. And thank you, Reverend Elizabeth. We are so lucky. So let's do, now are we supposed to sing along or are you going to sing for us? Oh, okay. Well, then it says, rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our hymn of affiliation.
I don't think you need to rise.
You don't need to, okay. And I don't know how to say that. And it's led by Marty Dowie, who is Reverend Elizabeth's mom. So it's all you.
Thank you. This is a song about being together, about serving our community and our worlds, and this is certainly something that your church is doing. So it's a beautiful song for today. Please join me on the chorus. I know you can because I heard you already. Somos el barco, somos el mar, yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail he sings it to the boat that carries you and me. Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. Now the boat that we are sailing in was built by many hands. The sea that we are sailing on it touches many lands. Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. Oh, the voyage has been long and hard, and yet we're sailing still with a song to help us pull together, if we only will. Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. So with our hopes we raise the sails to face the winds once more, and with our hearts we chart the waters never sailed before. Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Now we are going to extinguish our chalice, but I noticed that we normally don't go this long, so we didn't charge. Well, we have to charge. So who's charging? Okay, good. We won't, you know, while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and put some more stuff in there so we can extinguish it.
We do helpfully have a chalice that only goes for exactly an hour.
Hey, that's clever.
And the timer's gone off. We're good.
Friends, as we begin this section, will you relax your shoulders if that helps you arrive to this moment? Relax your face. Take a smooth, easy breath. You don't have to take the deepest breath that ever deeped. We'll begin with Eve After by Danusha Lamaris, an American poet born to a Dutch father and a Caribbean mother who grew up in California and attended the University of California at Santa Cruz, studying art. Did she know there was more to life than lions licking the furred ears of lambs, fruit trees dropping their fat bounty, the years droning on without argument? Too much quiet is never a good sign. Isn't there always something itching beneath the surface? But what could she say? The larder was full and they were beautiful. Their bodies new as the day they were made. Each morning, the same flowers broke through the rich soil. The birds sang again in perfect pitch. Foolishness, betrayal, call it what you will. What a relief to feel the weight fall into her palm, and after, not pretend anymore that the terrible calm was paradise. On this holy day, the public expression of mutual commitment between Reverend Elizabeth and their congregation, we charge or entrust Reverend Elizabeth with the proud, sublime, and surreal responsibility of their calling. In general, the concern with heaven or hell doesn't take up much of the concern of a modern Unitarian Universalist, but much as scripture of many kinds can illuminate something about human nature, this poem can illuminate something, alluding and exploring to a story of the first humans, and it reflects on something about the hard parts of being human. You, as Reverend Elizabeth's community, know that they are not afraid of the hard parts. I charge you, Reverend Elizabeth, to keep steady on the path. The poet Lemaris offers that too much quiet is never a good thing. Together, as a community, we must rise and affirm that the dreams that Reverend Elizabeth dreams are born of their integrity and of their imagining of a future built on and with and for liberation. Today we charge or entrust with the responsibility, Reverend Elizabeth, to dream, and also its corollary, to rest enough to dream. What is just beneath the surface waiting to sprout and then to bloom isn't always a problem. There is also resistance to everything that diminishes both nature and humans, especially because one cannot live without the other. There is joy. There is the freedom we seek. Lama Rod Owens is a Black Buddhist Southern queen, an international influencer with a Master of Divinity degree in Buddhist Studies from Harvard Divinity School, with a focus on the intersection of social change, identity, and spiritual practice. Lama Rod offers that when we talk about freedom and liberation, you're stepping out into an experience that you just don't understand and know. So there has to be an experience of trust in something greater, something that is actually taking care of you. And a lot of folks don't want to take that risk. I hope you don't hear that as a simple judgment. Risk is real, and each of us is someone who has lost so much. But there is more. Some of you, and I hope many of you, understand that the practice of Unitarian Universalism that you undertake here in Wyoming is essential for saving lives. The lives of people who already love Unitarian Universalism, and those who are seeking, either casually or desperately, for something outside themselves that will give them more and ask for more. You are the community that represents more. You are a community that can practice trust together, making promises and keeping them, building action upon action until you see the results that match your shared vision and your mission. I charge and entrust you, Reverend Elizabeth, to speak life and possibility to the congregation as you journey together. And then, thinking about the serious responsibility that Reverend Elizabeth holds for your care, your strengthening, and your enlivening, we encounter the words of the poet. But what could Eve say? The larder was full, and they were beautiful, their bodies new as the day they were made. The larder was full, bountiful, filled with everything someone could need to thrive. Their bodies new? Maybe in our case, not new, since we can't rewind to a starting spot. But our spirits can rise to this moment, newly to this day and to this challenge. What we charge and entrust Reverend Elizabeth with this day is the imagination of Harriet Tubman, who said, when not that much external reality existed in agreement, my people are free. Sometimes the tire gets flat, the dinner burns, the choir, though lovely, sings off key, the offering is low. Sometimes the violence of homophobia and transphobia overtakes us in communities in which the central thing for which we labor and to which we aspire is a place where everyone is beloved and everyone belongs. Sometimes structural oppression takes more time and more organizing than we would wish. This is why I charge or entrust Reverend Elizabeth to lead you toward those futures of thriving. From freedom as an understanding to freedom as a lived experience, to being a source of liberation in your communities and beyond. The poet closes with these words, "What a relief, and after, not to pretend anymore that the terrible calm was paradise." Reverend William B. Sinkford, former African-American president of the Unitarian Universalist Association and congregational minister, offers that the world has been in a period of significant transition. Does that sound familiar? And so often in such turmoil, and our faith community is no exception. How much of the faith we knew will abide? How much must change for Unitarian Universalism to thrive? What is permanent and what is passing? I charge and entrust you, Reverend Elizabeth, to continue to chart a way forward with your people and their mission. In uncertain times, to trust. In difficulty, to connect. Where the future has not shown itself as yet real, to plot a course toward the permanent. It is in this way that the future will take form and solidify. To refuse to play act the idea that calm is the same as good and quiet the same as healthy. This moment, and any of the turbulent times that may yet follow, we must embrace the inescapable nature of reality, as Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. put it. Your lives affect each other in both big and small ways, but always, in the end, connected and sending the ripples of love, and sometimes no love, let's work on that, through each other's lives. I charge and entrust you, Reverend Elizabeth, to understand your congregation and those they may encounter, as in the vision of Harriet Tubman, when she said, "My people are free. Thus may we live."
Something you might know that Reverend Elizabeth is a nerd about is the Cambridge Platform. This is a seminal document that has led to the congregational polity of 3 major denominations, including Unitarian Universalism. We tend to distill this quite long piece of writing to focus on the individual congregation's autonomy, or at least we have for a long time. But there is a lot in that document about our interconnections. At the time it was written, 1648, the few fledgling congregations that it was meant to guide in New England were in deep relationship with one another. because they had to be. The Cambridge platform called for congregations to be autonomous, yes, and yay, but also asked us to be intentionally and deeply in relationship with one another, congregation to congregation. It urges us not just to support each other, but to hold each other accountable too. To be in such deep relationship with one another that we can call each other in when necessary. To be specific, it said that we should be in communion with each other through thoughts and prayers for each other, consultation and sharing of wisdom, admonishment, welcoming each other for sacraments, recommendations for membership when relocating, and financial mutual aid. Perhaps those early New England congregations knew just how desperately they needed one another. Perhaps they understood, like the oak trees, that their survival depended desperately on how much they interlocked their roots with one another's. In her book, Emergent Strategies, pleasure activist, podcaster, and founder of one of the founders of Octavia's Brood, Adrienne Marie Brown, puts it this way: oak trees don't set an intention to listen to each other better or agree to hold tight to each other when the next storm comes. Under the earth, always, they reach for each other. They grow such that their roots are intertwined and create systems of strength that is resilience on a sunny day and in the midst of a hurricane. Now, I feel that I must name here that our spiritual ancestors intentionally did not intertwine with the people who were not like them theologically or culturally, and in fact actively engaged in their genocide. And this fact calls us to do better every day. To intertwine our roots with those who are different from us and or are marginalized by the society, in large part because of how our spiritual ancestors, and in my case, familial ancestors, set up this society to harm them again and again for generation after generation. And this call includes looking out for and supporting our struggling and isolated and geographically vulnerable congregations, too, in all of the ways we can. Right now, though, we hardly know what is happening in our own congregations, let alone each other's. If we are lucky, we get some support from each other's congregations. But this moment right here, the charge to the congregation at ordinations and installations, is literally the only time we set aside to hear from a minister that is not our own about whether we are on the right track or what direction we might consider leaning in. Let me be clear, we need more accountability for congregations. We need to admonish once in a while. We need to help each other to be better stewards of our faith. And we certainly need more mutual aid, right? In our brokenness, so often, we blame our ministers and our religious professionals for our own hurt, our own disappointment, our own sadness or sorrow. Returning to the words of Adrienne Marie Brown, we are brilliant at survival, but brutal at it. We tend to slip out of togetherness the way we slip out of the womb, bloody and messy and surprised to be alone. I know you will care for my beloved. Thank you for all the ways that you already have, for all the ways that you have loved them so far. Keep showing them how much you value them. Include them in your governance and your fellowship in all the ways they wish. Listen deeply to them. Give them the great gift of your feedback. You can say admonish if you really want, because they might get a kick out of that. But do it in as loving as a way as you can muster at the time. They are brilliant, wise, and so creative. And they will love you well. I know because I know how it feels to be loved by them. It is splendid. Though Elizabeth had not put this fact into long-term memory storage when they asked me to do this particular part of this ritual, it is fitting that I should be the one, because the Cambridge platform was written primarily by Richard Mather, building on some of his earlier work with colleague John Cotton, and I now serve the church where Richard Mather served for 33 years before his death in 1669. And I'm kind of also a big nerd for the Cambridge platform. And serving his church gives me a squee moment on occasion. And it makes me feel all the more called to loudly proclaim any chance I get how much we are not living up to the calls within that document. We need more congregational networks that will allow for support and accountability for us to survive and thrive in this new era of progressive religion. That could be the death of it, right? We need more partnership and less competition. And we really need less individualism, please, in our congregations as a whole and within each congregation, right? We need to live much more deeply into our interdependence as congregations and within many of our congregations. We again need to be more like oak trees. Multidimensional artist, co-founder of Wild Seed Healing Village and Soul Fire Farm, Naima Penniman, writes, when Hurricane Katrina slammed into the Gulf Coast, almost everything lost its footing. Houses were detached from their foundations, trees and shrubs were uprooted, signposts and vehicles floated down the rivers that became of the streets. But amidst the whipping wind and the surging water, the oak tree held its ground. How? Instead of digging its roots deep and solitary into the earth, the oak tree grows its roots wide and interlocks with other oak trees in the surrounding area. And you can't bring down 100 oak trees bound beneath the soil. Now, you seem to understand deeply how vital your interconnections are here in Cheyenne, here in this congregation and in the larger community. I know that you are bold, loyal, loving to one another and to Elizabeth. I know that you have incredible taste in ministers. And more importantly, you are great ministers. Remember, we do not believe that ministry is done solely by religious professionals. We believe strongly in what Unitarian theologian James Luther Adams called the prophethood of all believers, that everyone who is a part of our congregation in any way does real important ministry every day. Every casserole you bring to someone who just had a baby or surgery or lost a loved one is ministry. Every time you show up at the Capitol and urge politicians to side with love is vital ministry. Every time you ask each other how you are and you genuinely listen to the answer is ministry. Every rummage sale is ministry. Every single thing each of you did to support the person you hosted in sanctuary was ministry, especially the practical and thankless parts of that work. And yes, how we do administration is the most important ministry sometimes. Our budgets are the most clear articulation of our values that we have. And so they are ministry too, friends, and must be made with incredible care. As white nationalism and Christian hegemony become more vehement and violent, as attacks on trans rights become more ardent and brutal, as bodily autonomy is under attack for people who can get pregnant and trans folks, as what we call our democracy becomes even more of a farce, if that was possible, as our willful destruction of the planet has reached a critical point where it is unclear to many of us whether we can truly save it in time. As so much of what has always been wrong with this country and our culture, because of how it was founded on white supremacy culture and extractive capitalism, is being deeply unveiled to more and more and more of us. We need our roots today, and we need our ministry today to be interconnected so that we can each survive. We need one another to survive. And we need ministry that changes lives and the world. And you are capable of that. Returning to the words of Naima Penniman, how do we survive the unnatural disasters of climate change, environmental injustice, over-policing, mass imprisonment, militarization, economic inequality, corporate globalization, and displacement? We must connect under the ground, friends. In this way, we shall survive. So lean into this strength, beloveds. Show up for the ways in which ministry is happening here all the time. Remember that everything that you do, every choice that you make is ministry. Connect deeply with Reverend Elizabeth, with each other, with your neighbors here in Cheyenne, and with other Unitarian Universalist congregations that can serve as your cheerleaders, as your reminders on how to stay on track, and as your guideposts back when you veer off course. Cultivate the kinds of relationships that will help you grow, that will offer you the gift of feedback, that will live in mutual love, struggle, and aid with you. We need one another. You are not alone. We have each other. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
Now? Yes. It went out again. I'm telling you, it's not used to that. We're going to have to get a bigger bowl. So we're done. We don't need a bigger bowl. Okay. Oh, I lost my glasses. Okay. If you would, I think let's rise, and we're going to extinguish the chalice, and you need your order of service, and I need my glasses. So on the inside of the order of service, we're going to extinguish our chalice by saying, "We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment." Oh, there you go. Our hearts until we are together again. That's one way of extinguishing the chalice. Okay, we're going to have a recessional hymn. So turn to 1028 in your
this one. Whoop. There we go. All right. I knew we had a plethora of mics today for a reason, including our awesome tech mic. Thank you for being with us today. And so, before we go I get to give the benediction, literally the good word. And so I, in sum, commission you to get your physical or metaphorical boots planted on the ground, but keep rainbows and dreams firmly on your head. And to remember that love is the spirit of this church. And we'll even put this up in the library so you can remember that love is the doctrine, is the spirit of this church. As you go forth, remember the words of Octavia Butler: all that you touch, you change, and all that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. So make change with intention. Work for justice and go out into the world as a blessing to it. Amen. Let's sing that fire of commitment and head on out to the party. Abby, you're first.
Good. I'm not leading this.
Thank you.
please join us in the social hall. There are all kinds of goodies and drinks and beverages and everything, and a little socializing.